Hello and welcome to Game Objective. My name is Brad Glasgow, and this video is going to show you a little glimpse into the sheer insanity that is the world of game journalism. As you can see by the title, I have been kicked out of a group on Facebook called the Freelance Game Journo Network. I know many of you are familiar with the former Game Journo Pros group, where industry game journalists got together in a highly collaborative, controversial way that ended in allegations of blacklisting and collusion. This Freelance Game Journo Network group, it wasn't really like that. These are freelance journalists that don't really hold any power, unlike the Game Journo Pros, which was eventually shut down. This group is mostly used for networking. People would post jobs, like if a company is hiring writers or is looking for article submissions. There were a lot of questions about contact info. If a freelancer wanted to talk to a particular game company, who should they contact? Often people would post articles that they were proud of. They would talk about things like transcription services. And every once in a great while, there was some minor discussion. Like they would sometimes whine about YouTubers, who many in that group don't believe to be real journalists. But as I said, any discussion like that was rare. It was mainly a group with some useful contact info and occasional job postings. As you can see from this graphic, it has about 600 people in the group, and those are not just freelancers. It does have established people who hire freelancers, and there were an average of around 4 posts per day over the last month. I personally joined the group a couple of years ago. I think it was 2017. I didn't participate much in the group, but last year I did post my Nolan Bushnell article. Briefly, for those of you who don't know, Nolan Bushnell was accused of sexual harassment, and the GDC, who was going to give him an award, took the award back. There were a dozen or more articles about this, but none of them questioned the accusers. It wasn't until my article appeared that the narrative was questioned. I talked to people who actually worked with Bushnell. No one who worked with him ever accused him of any wrongdoing. It was just upset Twitter activists who weren't even born at the time that Bushnell worked at Atari. I even said in the group that what was happening was journalistic malpractice because supposed journalists weren't investigating the issue. As you might expect, the people in the freelance group didn't like that very much. One of them called my article, quote, gross. It was clear that I do not think like these other journalists. After that, I didn't post much. A few weeks ago, I did post some information on the Kunkel Awards. One journalist replied to that post saying that Koretsky, the guy who runs the awards, is a gamergator, and I corrected him. But that was about it. And then last Friday, I received this message from the group admins. Quote, hey Brad, just letting you know that we have removed you from the Freelance Game Journal group. There is no need for us to announce this publicly or in the group itself, but we wanted to make you aware. The decision was made following complaints from multiple group members, as well as many of your public comments on social media that we feel conflict with group policies. The group was founded to help with issues in freelancing. We found that you've tended to cross the line into controversy. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. So, I took a look at their group policies, and I had a friend who's in the group double check it for me, and this is it. Quote, this group is for freelance writers in the video game and tech industry, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro. Use it to network, share insights, ask questions, and help one another out. Be nice, be helpful, keep it cool. So, yes, I absolutely had some questions for these admins, and I asked them, quote, what group policies did my social media use conflict with? Also, what prompted this when I have hardly posted in the group over the past several weeks? Today, I finally got my answer. Quote, while the group doesn't have any firm policies, its main tenets focus on sharing work, helping fellow freelancers, and creating a safe networking space. After numerous complaints from other members, we found that you've been needlessly antagonistic and confrontational. Topics you've brought to the group over the Kotaku Atari investigation, block lists on Twitter, Kunkel Awards, and others indicate the inability to keep biases in check without starting arguments. Furthermore, these recent tweets were impossible to ignore. And they posted some screen caps of tweets that I recently sent, and those are the real reason I was kicked from the group. But first, before I get to those, let me address this in the response. I have to tell you, I don't get offended by much, but one of the most offensive things I've ever read is where he calls it the, quote, Kotaku Atari investigation. That was my investigation, and I broke that story. The Kotaku article corroborating my piece didn't come out until a week later. Regardless, I already talked about that, that was in February of 2017. Okay, the block list, someone posted a Twitter thread from a publication editor that had me blocked from a block list. I replied in that thread something like, "Yay for an open job, boo for using a block list." That was it. For the Kunkel Awards, I told you about that. They apparently really don't like the Kunkel Awards, so that's covered. Now, to the tweets that got me kicked out of the Freelance Game Journal group. And what is surely a big surprise, it has to do with the current Russ Pitts, Zoe Quinn controversy. When Russ Pitts announced his departure from his charity and The Escapist, and you can see my video about what happened in the link above, I replied to him, quote, "You wrote a spicy tweet to Zoe Quinn and you took down your editorial and left The Escapist. If you're ever interested in speaking truth to power, you might wish to carefully examine who exactly has the power there." This resulted in a back and forth with someone who believed that Russ Pitts had the power because he's a white guy with 10,000 followers and a website, even though Zoe Quinn has 116,000 followers and a book as well as a comic book. Here's a screen grab of the tweets in question that they sent to me in the Facebook message. If you want to pause and read them, go ahead, but I'm not going to get into those. It's a typical conversation with someone who is entirely focused on identity. And that's it. Those tweets got me kicked out of the Freelance Game Journal group because they were, quote, public comments on social media that the admins feel conflict with group policies. And what are those group policies? Quote, the group doesn't have any firm policies. In other words, I don't think exactly like all the other game journalists. Wrongthink will be punished. It's funny because for years now I've been complaining about how game journalists are a homogeneous clique. They all think alike. When I looked through my Twitter history for past mentions of homogeneous journalism, I came upon this tweet, which is in response to Aaron Garst, who's actually one of the admins who kicked me out. He argued that there is no social justice bend to game journalism, and I said, quote, from what I've seen, game journalism is largely homogeneous. From what I've experienced, it's also very cliquish. That was back in 2017. Cut to 2019, and this guy was one of the three who kicked me out of the group. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get the irony. Game journalism is a clique. If you do not think like they do, they will do everything they can using whatever meager power they have to punish you. I am an award-winning journalist, though those awards were Kunkel Awards. When I cover news pieces, I try to do so objectively, hence the name Game Objective. I'm not perfectly objective, no one is, but I try to disclose everything to my audience so that you know where I'm coming from, and I think I've been pretty consistent over the past few years. I'm currently co-authoring an academic paper along with a professor about the Gamergate controversy. But none of that matters to these people. What matters to them is whether I act and believe in the things that they believe in. If you question the narrative, you're excommunicated. And it appears that that holds especially true if you question the narrative about Zoe Quinn. But I have to admit, I love questioning the narrative. The narrative is almost always wrong. The narrative is set in place by people who write clickbait, who don't investigate, who don't question sources, who follow the party line, or else they too are punished. And I'm not going to stop either, because damn it, this is fun. Knowing that game journalists actually complain to the admins about me because I'm not some social justice cult member, that makes me practically giddy. Now, I'm not happy about being kicked out of the group. It does give me less access to information, which is never a good thing, but I'm just not like those people. And when I do say those people, I should acknowledge that not everyone in that group is like that. There are some good people there. They're just not in charge, and they keep mostly quiet. They have to. Now you guys see why I rely on and need your guys' support. You see what I'm up against. That Nolan Bushnell article I published a year ago. No publication would touch it. It was too controversial, they said. Sound familiar? I think differently, and I'm in an industry where that is actively punished. So I need your continued support. I need you to hit that like on my videos and subscribe to my channel. I need you to follow me on Twitter and retweet me when you agree with me. And part of that support is also telling me what you don't like about my work. I have thick skin, I can handle it, so feel free to let me know whatever is on your mind, good or bad. And of course, I could also use your financial support as well, either through Patreon or PayPal. The links are below. Until next time, this has been Brad Glasgow for the Blacklisted Game Objective. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support over these past couple years. I truly appreciate every one of you.